Mounce, BBG, chapter 16, sentence 10, which is the bear of the chapter, obviously. You know, it's going to be a really, really tough one for you unless you realize whenever you're dealing with substantivals, you're going to help yourself if you understand what gender it is, and you know, insert either an extra noun or pronoun accordingly to help yourself communicate the idea. All right, another one where you have a post-positive therefore. And then you have the verb therefore. Then you have the verb, which is a third person plural. You know, oese amineti usi with the movable nu, with the usi with the movable nu. So it's third plural, which is they say. Therefore, they say, and then, you know, hopefully you've got Tuflos down as a blind guy or blind man. So in this case, therefore they say to the blind man pollen, which is again. And then you have an interrogative, which you should know because of the acute accent over the iota. Why do you say? And say has got to be a second singular to line up with su, which is your second person personal pronoun singular. And it is ace a, and there's ace, so second singular. Why do you say? And then peri autu. Peri can mean several things, but followed by a genitive, concerning or about, either one. So concerning him or about him. And seeing that genitive, again, you know, you might be tempted to use a keyword, but throw them out because it's following a preposition. So concerning him. Therefore, they said to the blind man again, why do you say concerning him? And again, why do you say? You have that communication verb, which tells you that it's introducing indirect discourse. What is it that you're saying concerning him? That he opened of you the eyes. Why do you say concerning him that he opened your eyes? And again, that's the fronting of that possessive, but that's okay. So why do you say concerning him that he opened your eyes? But he said that he said that a prophet he is. He said that he's a prophet. And in this case, prophetes, you know, looks like it would be your subject because that's what you learned as your lexical form, nominative singular. Just one of those oddball ones in terms of prophet, prophetes. But the trick here is that because the verb is third singular, you have to decide, you know, how to state that sentence. And in this case, you have that. But he said that a prophet is. Well, that doesn't work. So what you can do is you can say, well, he is a prophet, in which case this is still going to be nominative, but because it's in the predicate, it makes it a predicate nominative. And if you were asked on an exam, how is prophetes functioning in the sentence? Again, if you state it, because it's a nominative, you state that it's a subject, that would be incorrect because then you don't have, you know, he says that, or he said that a prophet is. Well, prophet is what? You know, then it doesn't make sense. But if you say that he's a prophet, obviously prophet is a predicate nominative, and that's the reason it's a nominative, is because it's in the predicate referring back to the he that is built into the verb. Okay, so he said that he's a prophet. Now, this hutos is y'all's son, right? Or your, if you want to do it that way, but y'all's son. So, but this you got to recognize, again, a demonstrative pronoun, nominative singular and all that, you know, but it's also masculine. So Because it's alone, treat it as a substantive, in which case you're going to add that extra word in there. You're going to say this man or this person if you want to be more politically correct. But bottom line is, it's this man is y'all's son. And then you have this relative pronoun, y'all say, and then you've got a second plural, which lines up with who may, so you have subject-verb agreement here. That, again, if you're trying to figure out that or because, look the verb it follows is a communication verb. So again, it's introducing indirect discourse again. Blind, he was born. The trick here is to look at the end and see the question mark, and then you got to go all the way back and treat this as an entire sentence, which I didn't do just now, so forgive me for that. But that helps you with this relative pronoun and figuring out what to do with this relative pronoun. So you'd want to turn this around and say, is this man y'all's son who y'all say that he was born blind? Okay. Now again, tuflos, an adjective, right? But nominative singular. But you'll notice that it's in the predicate. So in this case, as an adjective, but it's predicate and it's nominative in terms of case, but it's not a noun. So what you're going to call this is, you're going to call this a predicate adjective. So, is this y'all's son who y'all say that he was born blind? But blind here referring back to the he. But again, because it's referring back to the he and further describing the he, it is actually a predicate adjective. So it has to agree with the subject in terms of, I have a hard time doing that. Case, there we go. Case, number, and gender, which it does. So, all right, so that pulls us up to the question mark here. And then we go to the next clause. How, therefore, and again, you can pull that un, since it's postpositive, up to the front if you want, but in English with therefore, we're a little more free to move it around within the sentence. So how, therefore, or therefore how. And again, since it's a question mark, you're looking at the verb and you're saying, okay, what person and number? We know it's from blepo, which is IC, but oase omnetiusi, it's A. So if only thing you remember is the iota for a present active indicative verb, that's a third singular. So it's he, she, it sees, but in this case, we know we're talking about the blind guy. So how, therefore, as a question, does he see now? How, therefore, does he see now? Or therefore, how does he see now? So there's that part of the clause. Then you have he answers, therefore, that one, if we just do it word by word, and here's his quote. Okay, so this is the rest of his quote, but therefore, you're going to flip all this around. This is your subject. And it's a kainos, not from hutos, it's a kainos. And this is one of those places where I would encourage you to translate specifically like the Greek does, instead of the way you're going to see it translated in the Bible. The Bible's just going to, English translations, they're just going to go with he. Therefore, he answered. I would say this is one of those places, therefore, that man answered, that particular man, his answer. There's a reason why Greek will use a demonstrative in a situation like that, and it's to say that was his answer. So in this case, therefore that man, and again, you're going to say that man or that person, but that man is perfectly fine because it's a nominative singular, right? Masculine inflection there from a kainos. So therefore that man answered, and then we're going to have his full answer here. A, if a sinner, indefinite, there's no definite article. Hamartolos, that should be easy from hamartia, you probably recognize, which is sin. So hamartolos is a sinner. All right. If a sinner, he is. Right. And there's that third singular from a me. So if a sinner he is, or if he is a sinner, either way, but the bottom line is you're doing the same thing that you did up above with some of these other things. Hamartolos actually functions as a predicate nominative. So again, if you were to be asked on an exam, how is hamartolos functioning in the sentence, you might be tempted to say that it's the subject of that clause, but it's not. Because it's not if a sinner is, if a sinner is what? That's where you kind of go back, well, these things can be predicate nominatives or predicate adjectives. So in this particular instance, it's clearly a predicate nominative. And the way you're going to know that is because with this equative verb, it's not equated to anything. So you take the subject as being built into the verb and say he is, if he is, and then you have hamartolos, a sinner. So if he is a sinner, in which case this is predicate nominative, all right, then uk oida, I don't know. If he's a sinner, I don't know. Then the next part of his answer, that man's answer, is, hen oida. You might look at that and go N, but that's a particular place where you look very, very carefully and see the rough breathing mark, in which case you have hen. And if you memorize the lexical entry Hace Mia Hen, you'll recognize that as the something that word that means one. This is a perfect example of a place where you need to insert an extra noun or pronoun in order to clarify what gender we're talking about. And of course, with Hace Mia Hen, you're looking at a neuter, and you're either looking at a nominative or an accusative. If it were a neuter, it's a neuter in this case, but so that means it's one thing. But whether it's nominative or accusative, you have to figure out based on the context. And since your verb is I know, the subject would have to be I, and this is not I. So there's not any way to have subject-verb agreement if this is in the nominative. It doesn't work. So what you've got is I know one thing, and this is accusative because that way it lines up with oida, and you can have I know one thing. This could be the direct object. So, in English, though, we probably still would say one thing I know, because it's just the way we say that. And one thing I know, that, and what is it that he knows? Since it's the content of what he knows, which is similar to indirect discourse, it's really an object complement marker here is how it's functioning for those of you who are grammarian types. One thing I know, that blind being RT now I see. So blind being, the idea here is I was, that was my state. Well, now I'm not blind. Now I see. So in other words, one thing I know, that I was blind, or having been blind, now I see. So that should take care of that whole quote. Whoa, sorry about that. That should take care of that quote. All right. Sorry for that sentence.